All right, hey folks, we're going to work on some martial powers design today. We're building a magic system for martial characters to rival those of full casters. So that's the plan. We've been playtesting it. Everything's coming along nicely, and we've had some mechanical insights during the course of playtesting. So we're going to be updating subclasses with that information. So sounds like we're okay over here. Let me drop down the volume so it doesn't get in the way, so I can do some messaging here. I'm going to do a social media post here and walk you guys through my intro. If you're already familiar with the channel, you can skip this portion of the conversation and jump ahead like maybe a minute. We should be getting to work by then. But for those that are new to the channel or that are trapped here in space-time with me here now, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. For relevance, I've been a dungeon master since 1987. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999. I've been a Magic the Gathering enthusiast since 1994, and I've been creating content on the DMsGuild for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since 2018. I'm a huge Magic the Gathering enthusiast. That's actually what got me started into the role-playing, into designing role-playing stuff on DMsGuild in the first place. Was the Ravnica campaign setting, then the Theros campaign setting, then the Strixhaven campaign setting. Had no real information at all about the color mana system that makes Magic the Gathering so cool. They just kind of reduced it down to the mechanics that are already inside the player's handbook and the DMG, which is how 5e is mostly designed to work. Take whatever ideas you have and then see how you can boil them down and simplify the mechanics so they still work with the player's handbook, but expand on the narrative to do whatever you want. I liked how 3E worked, which was when you came up with a new narrative for a campaign or a style of a setting, you create unique mechanics that reflect that setting or that sort of a campaign, like we've done with Spelljammer, we've done with ability check casting, and that we've done with the 5-color mana spell point variant rules. So if you want to see any of those things, my social media is updated. So here on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications to get live in the future. Here's the entire playtest, all the playtest doc that we're using today. Here's the full playlists that we have for this design stream, and here's a bunch of books that I've already published, including the 5-color mana spell point variant rule system itself, which converts the Vancian Magic spell slot system and 8 schools of magic into mana with the 5 colors of Magic the Gathering, perfect for use with Ravnica, Theros, Strixhaven. I use it in Eberron. I use it in Spelljammer. Color is just awesome. So if you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, blah-de-blah. Just for reference, here, like I said, here's the playtest document that we're going to be using. You can click, there you go. Direct drop into Google Docs. It's for you. It'll be read, don't touch. Thanks a lot to my slew of playtesters that have been involved so far in the testing. And the intention, assuming that we have enough people show up, we'll be playtesting today as well. So martial power system, for those who aren't already indoctrinated, welcome. We're taking all of the fighter, the monk, the barbarian, the rogue, as well as the paladin and ranger. We're converting all of these into a half-casting structure like the paladin and ranger already have. And then on top of it, we're introducing this idea of martial magic, like from Book of the Nine Swords, that was in 3rd edition, or like the idea of, looks like somebody's editing my document. He's back, and so am I. Oh, no, that's just a thing flipping over. Okay, I was like, what the hell's going on with my document? Yeah, anyway, Book of Nine Swords from 3rd edition. It was the last splat book that they made before they started launching 4th edition. It really explored the idea of giving martial characters a comparable magic system that was different from spellcasting, that put them on pretty equal footing as full casters. So we've taken that idea, and from it we've brewed the martial power system. It has a power die, which is like a martial arts die, inspiration die from the bards, or like a maneuver die from battle masters. It standardizes it among the what we call the martial classes: barbarian, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, blah. We also have options for Artificer and Warlocks, but those are like half step measures that like straddle between being spellcasting focused with some dipping into access to the martial powers. But we have half casting progression, 1st, 5th, 9th, 13th, 17th, 1 through 5. The power die increases in scale from a D6 at level 1 through a D8 at 9 to a D10 at 17. And then you have the number of prepared powers that your characters can have. You have the full list available to you. It's just whenever you gain a level, you can swap all of your powers. And whenever you take a long rest, you can switch one of them per day. This includes not only the powers that we've created that require mana, but it also includes all the fighting styles, all the weapon masteries, as well as like all the origin feats and advanced feats. There's about 40 some odd of them, which includes the fighting styles. And then damage types, like being able to just deal fire damage at will, or being able to deal cold damage at will, or whatever. Those are also considered prepared powers. If it costs mana, it's like a power. If it doesn't cost mana, like a feat, for instance, or weapon masteries, those are kind of like cantrips. We're calling those meta powers because they're kind of like power. Anyway, meta powers. There you go. Prep powers, you start with 4 because, again, your fighting style, your weapon masteries, and any mana abilities that you want to use are included in here. You could never use your mana pool at all if you don't want to, and just dive into feats. Just have a crap ton of feats for your character. So when you get your ability score increase feat at 4th level, you could actually increase your ability scores because you've already gotten Sentinel and Polearm Master and Slasher and all those other feats that you want to have on your martial characters. You can stack up in your 1st or 2nd level, buff that stuff out, and then if you want to, you can start focusing on mana stuff. Or you can really dive into weapon masteries, being able to swap out what your masteries are without necessarily having to swap out your weapons in the process. So you can focus on your favorite weapon, which is definitely a trope fantasy that exists. And so the amount of mana that you have, it comes back on a short rest. It's like a monk. It's 1 mana per level up through 1 through 20. Interesting thing that we need to blast out into its own standalone section is empowering actions. You sacrifice action economy to generate mana during your round of combat. So if you don't move, you can be forcibly moved, but assuming that you choose not to move, then you can generate basically 1 point of mana for free to use on anything that would require mana, whether it's 1st rank or a higher rank. We're generating a point of mana for you by standing still during combat. And when you're out of combat, these things don't apply. Combat has more action economy than outside of combat. When you're doing exploration or social interaction, it's typically like maybe the DM will have like 1 action per character before going through rotation, but make sure that everyone's okay doing what they want to do. Or you could have one person that's using multiple actions at a time. Like, I'm going to open the door, and I'm going to check for traps, I'm going to disarm the traps, and then I'm going to bash the door open because it's stuck regardless of being unlocked. So those are like 3 things you might do. Those might take 3 rounds in combat, but in exploration, it's just kind of resolved with die rolls and it's super casual. So when you have high action economy, you can exchange the action economy for extra mana. When you're outside of combat, when action economy and order of sequence is loosey-goosey, then you actually use your mana pool. So if you want to literally have mana going all day, you can limit your in-combat options to things that you can generate for free, and then use the actual mana pool that you have outside of combat during exploration to boost ability checks, saving throws, like against traps and stuff like that. So, yeah, martial powers for the absolutely for the Murder Hobo. Hey, Murder Hobo is a style of play when the players feel like their DM has abandoned them. People don't go in with the idea of being a Murder Hobo. Players get backed into the corner of being a Murder Hobo. Like if they're going to be thrown in jail because the DM's forcing you to have law issues, that triggers Murder Hobo intents. When the DM has completely disregarded the type of adventures that the players want to run and or are completely disconnected and boring all the players, they'll often turn to murder hoboism just so they can force the DM to start doing things on their term. It's a radical form of gaining agency in your game. If you have a DM that's engaging you, that's engaging in the style of play that you want, and is helping you express that fantasy, then chances are your team isn't going to go on a murder hobo spree. So, yeah. So yeah, absolutely. It's if murder hobos can teleport and then blow people up with a touch, so be it. It's or they can just play a game. The DM can just run a game that they want, and they don't have to worry about it. So yeah, if you stand still, that'll generate a point of mana. If you don't use your bonus action, depending on what level you are, 1st, 9th, 17th, you can generate 1, 2, or 3 points of mana. You gain 3rd rank at 9th level. You gain 5th rank at 17th level. You have 1st rank powers at 1st level. So as you excel, as you gain levels, the amount of mana you can generate from your bonus action is going to increase, because as you gain levels as a character, you get new options that come online further up your scaffold, and it's worth more power than just what it was at the 1st level. So hence the increase in power. And then with attacks, if you have extra attacks, when you take the attack action during your turn, if you have multiple attacks, you can sacrifice any number of those attacks to generate mana during combat that you would then be able to expend before your turn ends. You could theoretically expend both your bonus action and your movement to generate anywhere from 2 to 4 points of mana. And like, say you're an 11th level fighter, right? 11th level fighter is going to generate 2 mana when you give up your bonus action. You're always going to generate 1 point of mana when you give up your movement. And an 11th level fighter has 3 attacks. You could give up 2 of those attacks. So 1 point, 2 points, and then you give up 2 attacks. That takes you to 4 points. That for only taking 1 attack during your round, you've juiced up 4 points of mana that you could spend on that attack, either to boost the attack itself and or boost the damage with whatever mana is left over, and not spend any of it yourself. You can very well just be, I'm already where I need to be, 1 and done. And that 11th or 17th level character that takes like 10 minutes to run, it just took 1 action. You threw a ton of dice. If you hit, you crush. There you go. It's a super fun way to be able to collapse your action economy and speed up combat by having the actions you do choose to take do more because you're juicing them with mana. So that's the idea. And so far it's been working fantastic. So it's just been a matter of making sure that the powers that we can use cost the right amount, come online at the right amount. Like, you can't get them too early if they're really good. And once you do get access to them, make sure that they're not over or underpriced, so it feels good to pay for it and you don't feel ripped off when you do, which is like why some of them are like, spend 3 points of mana to gain an extra attack, hit with advantage, and blah-de-blah. And if you miss, you waste all that stuff. So instead, some of these powers, like if you miss your attack or if you fail the die roll, like if you fail your save or you fail the ability check, you can refund your mana. So your character, when you're out of combat, you're willing to risk your mana to throw out ability checks, because if you hit it, great. If you fail the die roll, you get your mana back, so you didn't waste any of it in just trying to push the ball forward. So a lot of fun dynamics that work together that way. Yeah, it's when I was playtesting a Battle Master at 6th level recently, and when I was in a good position, I could offer protection to the caster that I was next to, but otherwise I could freeze my movement because I didn't need it because I was playing guard duty. That would then be able to pump into either ranged attacks or to use bonus actions to give other characters like Battle Master maneuvers, like to give them extra attacks using their reaction, or to let them move additional turns, so that I was basically exporting my action economy onto other characters as a support character, while I was making sure that the spellcaster wasn't being attacked if I could avoid it. So a lot of fun stuff there. It's super fun. You can build your own action loops, since you can manipulate your actions, bonus actions, movement with mana. You can create an optimal action loop for your character in different scenarios to activate. Excuse me. You get a ton of powers. You end up having By 20th level, you have 23 powers, which again include fighting styles, weapon masteries, alternate damage types, and all the mana stuff that you get. And you get bonus powers with your subclass as well. So you end up with an abundant number of powers that allows you to not feel like you're locked into one mode of combat. You can have a run and gun style. You can have a stand and fight style. You can have an out of combat skill monkey specialized focus for your character. So by the time you get to like 5th or 6th level, you can start running multiple tracks of like how do I optimize my action economy in different scenarios. Super fun. Let's see. So that's enough to do. So there you go. What we're going to do is we're going to drop into Barbarian. Here's the list of powers at the front. And again, this you can read all this stuff with me. If you want to click on the playtest document, it'll take you right into the Word doc that we're using right now. And yeah, time to run horde. Yeah, thanks, Steve. I'm glad you like it. So here's all the mechanics for how the martial power system works. It's very simple. Like if something has a duration, typically it's a minute, or until like if you target somebody, like if you poison somebody, they typically can attempt to end the effect with a saving throw at the end of their turn, and you don't maintain concentration on any afflictions that you place on targets, but they don't last more than a minute, and all of them have saving throws to end them. A lot of them have saving throws to activate, and then once they're active, they can also end in the round. So they either last one round or they last 1 minute. That can be ended with a saving throw. And there's a lot of effects in here. Monsters can have any powers that characters can. And there's a lot of powers in here that juice your saving throws. So you can have a boss monster like that fails an effect, but then can spend like a legendary action to trigger a reroll, as opposed to like if you're not a fan of legendary saves where they automatically succeed the save, you can instead use these juicing effects so that they get hit and they're affected, and then at the end of their turn they end the effect, or they can have a counter, like a countering effect set up. So if you try to disable them, they can trigger their reaction to try to counter the effect, or like ward you. So like you can affect me with this magic that you just hit me with, but you're gonna have to spend extra spell slots or extra mana to make it stick, so you're getting the effect for at least one round, but it's going to cost you extra to do it. So there's a lot of really fun ways that the DM side of the screen can utilize this stuff to increase the threshold, to increase the challenges that the players have, and have it be a little less binary, where they have the ability to make more decisions. Like one of the things they have in the DMG, it's like you could be stunned, or I forget what ability it was, who does it, but the option was make a saving throw and you're stunned. If you don't want to be stunned, take like an extra 20 points of psychic damage, something like that. This is similar to that. If you want this ability to stick, you have to spend 3 extra mana to do it, depending on the rank of the creature. So like 1 rank, or like 1 mana or 2 mana or 3 mana or whatever. And as your character goes up in levels, that gets really freaking expensive. Like you cast counterspell, but to make that counterspell stick, you also have to spend another 3rd level spell slot. Like that's expensive. How badly do you want to make sure you can counter that spell? You might be like, never mind. Anyway, so all the mechanics for how the system works inside of here: targeting, distancing, caveats, and then the 5 disciplines, which are exploits, reactions, maneuvers, strikes, and sustained powers. And we will likely be visiting all of these things in time. I'm not focusing specifically right now on balancing the powers. Instead, I want to focus my time on balancing the character classes. And each subclass has a stack of 10 powers that are the bonus powers that you gain. Like the Barbarian gets 10 bonus powers, for instance. Some of the Rangers get like 5 spells. Well, then they get 5 powers, and they have the 5 spells that they came with. So everybody's going to get a piece of something. We've been playing with the Barbarian, and let's see. We're looking at right now. We're looking at so if the class feature is mentioned here, but it's not altered down in the description of the character, it means that it remains the same as listed in the player's handbook. If something's listed here but you don't know what it is, then it's going to be down here for description. If something is on the Barbarians list in the player's handbook, but it's not present here, like fighting weapon masteries is not listed on here because weapon masteries get folded into the powers that you can prepare. Martial characters are automatically proficient with, when you're proficient with a weapon, you can automatically use the weapon mastery associated with that weapon, just as being part of it. Full casters, if they have a weapon, they have to spend a feat to gain the weapon mastery, but martials automatically can use any weapon mastery with any weapon that they know. But if you want to use one of your prepared powers, you can use that other than, like, say, Nick, which requires a light weapon. You could take a mastery and you could use it with any weapon. Like I could take a dagger, and yeah, it has the Nick property according to the weapon proficiency, but I could also, if I wanted to, use cleave with it. So if I hit with that dagger, I can't stack masteries, so I have to choose one or the other. The exception to that is like Tavern Brawler, for instance, which triggers the push effect on its own, separate from anything else that you would do. So like that's a double dip. You take the Tavern Brawler feat, you can push plus something else, assuming you're using something that qualifies for use with Tavern Brawler. So that's like a caveat. That's a really great reason for you to take Tavern Brawler, even if you don't really feel like you need to do unarmed strike stuff. It gets really useful because it juices up push plus any other weapon mastery that you know. So yeah, your fighting styles and your weapon masteries are folded into your prepared powers, so we don't have it listed here anymore. It's gone. And now we're looking at, let's see, because we have the rages, and then we have the rage bonuses like usual. 2, 3, 4. Let's see. I feel like I could turn that music down a little bit. I think I'll turn down my master volume a tig. There. Yeah, it feels a little less invasive now. Please do let me know if that music is too loud in comparison to the yammer I'm making here. But, okay, great. So kicking through all this stuff. Yeah, so we have, again, our 4 powers that we start with, and by the time we get to 3rd level, we'll have 6. We're at 3rd level in the playtest right now. So 3rd level, you have 6 plus whatever 2 prepared powers that you get. You get your mana. We have our generating mana with our action economy. Let's see. Primal powers, alternate class features, primal skills. You gain proficiency and hold on. New feature is primal power. While raging, you can expend. Okay, so you don't concentrate on powers. They're just you turn them on and turn them off. They are calibrated so that they don't require concentration specifically. So they're not nearly as powerful in general to stuff that a wizard or a cleric could concentrate on, but there's no chance of failure. So it's supposed to be less. It's more like, and you can stack effects. So if you're 17th level with 5 ranks of power, you could have 5 first rank powers all working together at the same time. You're assumed that you're going to be tapping and locking mana to activate these different sustained effects to change how your character fundamentally functions in combat or in exploration. So primal power, empowered rage at 1st level, you can choose to sustain as a 1st rank power instead of using an action. Wait a second. Let's see. At 1st level, you can choose to sustain rage as a 1st rank power instead of using an action to extend each turn. In addition, you can expend a use of rage to regain 1 point of mana, and you can expend any amount of mana to regain an equal number of spent rages. So rage is worth 1 point, and 1 point is worth rage. So your character gains all your mana back on a short rest. Plus, you get 1 rage back on a short rest. So you're always generating uses of rage, and at any time you can convert your mana into rage. Let's see. Empowered rage as a at 1st level, you can choose to sustain rage. Let's look at rage again for 2024 because I don't think that's accurate language anymore. I just want to spend a moment looking at how rage functions. You can imbue yourself with primal power. You can enter your rage. While active, your rage has the following rules. Duration, the rage lasts until the end of your next turn, and it ends early if you don heavy armor or have the incapacitated condition. If your rage is still active on your turn, you can extend the rage for another round by doing one of the following. Make an attack, force an enemy to make a saving throw, take a bonus action to extend your rage. Each time the rage is extended, it lasts until the end of your next turn. You can maintain a rage for up to 10 minutes. Let's see. So yeah, I want to update that. At first level, you can choose to sustain. You can, at first level, you can extend your rage. Your rage by 1 round when you channel a maneuver. In addition to the normal means of doing so. Attacking, forcing a target to make a save, or spending your bonus action. In addition, you can expend a use of rage to regain 1 mana, and you can expend any amount of mana to regain any number of rage. There. So that is updated. Level 1, new class feature, Primal Power. When raging, you can expend ranger hit dice instead of mana to channel powers. When you do so, an equal number of power dice are replaced with d12s. So your hit dice are d12s. If you expend your hit die, you don't have that hit die anymore. It's as though you'd use it to rest, but instead you can spend as mana. So instead of having 1 mana per level, you're essentially 2 mana per level, but the hit dice, they come back on a long rest. So as long as you get a long rest, you can get all your hit dice back. So the Barbarian is actually capable of punching out a shitload of mana. Aside from being able to generate during combat, out of combat, you can crank out a lot of mana if you need to. Let's see. Primal Power, Primal Skills. You gain proficiency in an additional skill of your choice from the Barbarian skill list. You gain proficiency in an additional skill of your choice there. In addition, when your rage is active, you can channel power when you attempt certain tasks. Whenever you make an ability check using one of the following skills, you can use your channeling ability score instead. Acrobatics, Intimidate, Perception, Stealth, Survival. And your channeling stat is either Strength, Constitution, or Charisma. You get to choose. So the primal power, the power that they have in the DMG 2024 is while you're raging, you can use a Strength score instead of these things. But we're taking it a step further. You don't have to use your Strength as your saving throw stat for the martial power system. Strength, Constitution, Charisma. So you can multi-class your character like into a rage sorcerer if you want to, and specialize in Charisma if you'd like. Yeah, this makes use of that. Brutal Power. Okay, so that's what happened at level 3, and then the next juicy thing that clicks in is Brutal Power, which is once during your turn, when using Reckless Attack, you can forego rolling with advantage for that attack to gain 2 temporary points of mana to channel a strike power if you hit. So if you forego your advantage at 9th level, just like with your bonus action up top, if you sacrifice your bonus action at 9th or higher level, it's worth 2 mana. With this one, if you forego your, instead of what the brutal strikes are that are listed in the Player's Handbook 2024, Brutal Power replaces that. Get rid of your advantage, then you get 2 points of mana that you can spend on any strike power. You could ramp all the way up to, like at 17th level, you can put 5 mana into a strike power, but Brutal Power gives you 2 points for free. So if you wanted to do a 5th rank martial strike at some point. Once per round, this will give you 2 points for free. You don't have to spend 3. And at 17th level, instead, you gain 4 points instead of 3 points. That actually tracks with actually that overclocks what's going on with the bonus action. I actually think I do need to relax that. So because we have the paladin can overclock smite by 3 mana at 17th level, so it's appropriate that the barbarian can do that as well. That is something that needed to be rebalanced. Okay, great. So let's move on to the path of the berserker. That's a quick breakdown of the changes that we make to the mechanics. So path of the berserker, we're going to go into looking at path of the berserker that we have listed in the DMG 2024. If we have some in the document here, we have some things that says this is as it's listed in the player's handbook. But since the 2014 player's handbook is basically going out of print, we'll be able to, we need to replace all that stuff with like actual language to include in the book. So third level, again, if we have it listed here, it should be saying this is what the full power is. If it anywhere it says this is as listed in the bloody blah plus these all, no, we'll have to change the whole thing. So bonus powers, when you choose this subclass at third level and at the levels listed, you gain bonus powers. These are always prepared without counting towards your total prepared powers list. Your total list of prepared powers. So third level, we get dire impact, retaliate, intimidating strike, and overrun at 5th level. 9th level, we get double strike and opportunist. 13th level, we get curse of exposure and hypertonistic. At 17th level, we get frenzied attack and wave of terror. We're going to what we typically do is we look through the class features first, make sure those are square, and then we go back and we review the list of powers that they gain to see how they are complementing the kit that you get with your levels, and to make sure that like nothing changed on the levels here that we need to update, and for us to have an opportunity to look again at these mechanics to see if they're still working as intended. So I'm going to take a sip of water and hopefully not breathe it. Success. Okay, so Frenzy. When you hit using Reckless Attack while your rage is active, you deal 1 extra power die of damage. So if I were to, if you hit when once, that should be once per round. If you hit when using, once per round, if you hit when using Reckless Attack while your rage is active, you deal 1 extra power die of damage. So it is your power die at first level is a D6, and then if you wanted to juice it by spending your own mana, you'd be able to do so. That would have a cap of 1. You'd be able to use a first rank power. It would do D6 damage plus whatever kicker effect. But you don't have to spend any mana. There you go. When you hit, you deal. And let's check out how Frenzy reads. Frenzy, you attack, you deal extra damage to the first target you hit on your turn with a strength-based attack. To determine the extra damage, roll a number of D6s equal to your rage damage bonus, and the damage has the same type as the weapon or damage. If you use Reckless Attack while your rage is active, you deal extra damage to the first target you hit on your turn with a strength-based attack. To determine the extra damage, roll a number of D6s equal to your rage damage bonus. So it's D6 and then it's D10, D6 and 2D6 and eventually up to 4D6. So I want to actually recalibrate that. So yes, not during once per turn because we're only giving you a single die. That's technically a nerf off the cuff, but it is whenever you hit using Reckless Attack. So Reckless Attack can affect all attacks, gain advantage to hit, and using, say, Nick, you could get up to 3 attacks per round. So that would mean that this is on the first attack that you hit with, you deal extra 2. With this, it's every attack you hit, you get 1. At first level, at third level, when you get this, that's probably going to be anywhere from 1 to 3 attacks, depending on how you build your Barbarian. It'll be anywhere from 2 to 4 attacks at 5th level. Let's see if this is going to, and I think when we get to Intimidating Presence at 14th, let's see. It's going to be 1 die per each, so it's going to be probably typically 2 per round at 3rd, and then it's going to be 3 per round typically at 6th. It's going to be still 3 per round around 10th. Let's do it here. You can expend 1 hit die to channel Opportunist. Let's see. Let's do this. The Efficient Power feat is applied to the Retaliate bonus power. You can expend 1 hit die to channel Opportunist as a first rank power. I am going to, in addition, when you hit using Reckless, in addition, when you use your Frenzy feature, I was about to add an extra attack, and I don't think that feels right. 1 attack, 2 attacks, 3 attacks. Oh, that's right, because it's going to be a D8 and then it's going to be a D10. So once per round, as written by the DMG, at 17th level, you're going to be able to do 4d6. Is that right? Starting at rage damage 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, and it becomes a +4 at 16, 17. Okay, so at 16th level, it's 4d6, which is going to average 13 damage. The way that we have this listed, assuming that you're having 2 attacks per round, you're using 2d10, which is going to average around 11 damage. It's almost the same. So pop. This actually balances out. So 1 die in the beginning, it's a little weaker, but in the end, it's going to end up stronger. So I'm okay with it being less like that. When you hit using Reckless Attack while your rage is active, you deal 1 extra power die of damage. Period. This can be added to any mana spent to channel a strike power. And it stacks with the brutal power that we have above. So that is going to work. Let's see. Mindless Rage. You are immune to the Charmed and Frightened condition while your rage is active. And if you're charmed or frightened when you begin raging, this condition ends for you. That's fine as written. Retaliation. The Efficient Power feat is applied to the Retaliate bonus power. Efficient Power feat is a meta feat that lets you generate a free point of mana when you use a power. So Retaliate, for example, is a first rank power. So if I were to use my reaction to trigger the Retaliate power, if I have a feat for Efficient Power, technically I don't have to spend any mana, I don't have to spend any action economy. The simple act of using Retaliate generates mana itself for you. Let's look at it since it's relevant to the conversation. Retaliate. As a reaction to taking damage, you make an opportunity attack against the attacker. If it's within reach of your weapon, you make an attack. As a reaction to taking damage, you make an attack against the attacker if it's within reach of your weapon. So this will allow you to have a ranged berserker. If you get hit by somebody, you can attack them with your bow, if that's what you're using, for instance. So, yeah, so that's how Retaliate works. So at 10th level, we can generate mana that way for free. You can expend 1 hit die to channel Opportunist as a first rank power. What is Opportunist? Opportunist comes online at 9th level. It's a 2nd rank sustained power. and we get Opportunist. We get this upgrade at 10th level, so we already have Opportunist as a free power. So you can see it says Sustained Power 2. So it takes 2 mana, and you tap both of those mana, and there you go. But with this Retaliation ability, you can expend one of your hit dice. Again, up above, as a core feature of the Barbarian, you can spend hit dice as mana. So if you choose to do so at 10th level as a frenzied berserker, instead of spending 2 mana on Opportunist, you only spend 1 hit die, and it's only considered a first rank power. So instead of tying up 2 of your 3 sustained slots that you have at first rank, second rank, third rank, fourth rank, fifth rank, you have 3 slots that you can fill with sustained powers, up to 3 ranks worth of power. Opportunist would normally be 2 ranks of power, but if you're using a hit die to channel it, it's only a first rank of power. So that's a fun way that we can cheat the system. So let's look at what Opportunist is. It's a sustained power. It's second rank. So let's go again. Sustained powers, you can activate them as actions, as a magic action or as a bonus action. And once you turn them on, they stay on until you are incapacitated, including sleeping, or you turn it off, or you get hit with a dispel magic. So Opportunist, second rank. While this power is sustained, during your turn, when you take the attack action, you can forego 1 or more of these attacks to gain that number of additional reactions, limited to 1 per turn, including your own, until the beginning of your next turn. In addition, when you take a reaction, you can forego any number of these additional reactions to gain 1 point of temporary mana for each reaction sacrificed this way, to use while channeling a reaction or strike power during this reaction. That's a lot of redundancy. Hopefully that makes sense. I can, as Opportunist, if I have 3 attacks, as like say an 11th level fighter, if I have Opportunist active, I could take the attack action and then give up all 3 of my attacks, leaving me only with a maneuver and a bonus action. But I now have 4 reactions. If during somebody else's turn, I were to trigger, say, Polearm Master, that would, like, for them trying to leave my space during their turn, I trigger an opportunity attack. That's a reaction. So I can burn that. That reaction would be gone. I'd have 3 reactions left. If I wanted to, I could then sacrifice all 3 of those reactions to gain 3 points of temporary mana that I would then be able to channel a strike through to deal 3 power dice of damage and hit them with a strike effect. Like, for instance, what's a fun third rank strike that I might want to choose to have prepared to be able to hit people with when they try to PAM? Provoking Strike. Your weapon can deal psychic damage, or normal damage if I want to, but it can deal psychic damage, and adds 1 power die per mana burn. In this instance, we're sacrificing 3 attacks to generate 3 mana as a Polearm Master opportunity attack on someone trying to leave our area of effect. So we dump the mana, we hit them, we now deal at 11th level 3d8 extra damage on top of the hit, and the creature can only attack me until it can either no longer see me or I'm incapacitated. That lasts, again, all these powers last for a minute by default. So the creature can attempt to end the effect by succeeding in Wisdom saving throw at the end of each of its turns. If the creature is immune to Charm, it saves with advantage, but it can't just get out of it. So this Provoking Strike is like a hard taunt. There's a softer version of it at first level, which is taunting. What is it? Taunting Strike? Hold on. Where is it? Restraining Strike, Resisting Strike, Thundering Strike, Martial Strike, Grappling Strike, Goading Strike. Your weapon deals extra damage. The creature's strike has disadvantage on all attacks that aren't made against you. And this effect ends either when they succeed an intelligence saving throw or they hit you. And then it ends. They aren't restricted in their movement or anything. It's not compelled duel. It's just a light way to be able to tag somebody, and now they're at disadvantage to attack anybody else. You can just strafe them. And until they can hit you, they're at disadvantage against anyone else. So it's a great ranged combat. Like, this is a great ranger tactic. To hit them with a ranged attack and then stay offline, like on the back of your beast friend. Trot around the battlefield, staying out of the reach of the target that you hit with your goad. And you can hit multiple targets with goading. It's up to them to get out of it. So, and normally you're going to have a combat last less than 10 rounds. So basically these things turn on until they're able to end it, or they can like retreat, get a couple rounds of rest, and then come back in with all these things cleared off. That's generally, so you can do waves of encounters with enemies that way. But yeah, Goading Strike is a soft taunt feature, and then Provoking Strike is a hard taunt. So Provoking Strike is a great, and again, it costs 3 mana to use it. There's 4 of them. That's why you have that 4 in parentheses for number keeping. But yeah, Provoking Strike is a great thing to use with Pam, because if you trigger the attack of opportunity on them trying to leave your area, sure, they can leave your area, but now you are the only target they are willing to attack until they can succeed at a saving throw, or they can't see you anymore. It's like blinding them would disable that. So they can't see you anymore, so you end the effect. So you want to be paying attention to like whether you're blinding your opponent or not to get them out of their effects for you. But anyway, there's that. So that's how Opportunist works. So the way this ability works then is if I spend 1 hit die to channel it instead of my own mana pool, I can channel that Opportunist ability as a first rank power, which becomes a really, that really leans into the frenzy flavor of how like retaliation works, right? The efficient power feat is applied to the retaliate bonus power. And we already looked at the retaliate action. If I get hit by somebody, as long as they're within reach of my attack, I can hit them back. So I could turn on Opportunist, sacrifice my attacks, guard whoever I want to guard, and I'll have 3 attacks open that I can just belt people with damage anytime they try to take an effect against me, or any of the other reaction effects that there's like over a dozen reaction effects to help protect yourself or a charged or a target ally from taking harm. It's pretty flexible. You'll see them as we get through stuff. Intimidating Presence. As a bonus action, you can unleash a 30-foot emanation of dread. Each creature of your choice within the area must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, a creature has the frightened condition for 1 minute. It can make another save at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. Let's do let's go as a Okay, so what I could do is I could convert this into a maneuver. So you could use it as a bonus action or an action twice in the same round if you wanted to, but it would cost you mana to do so. You could take it as an efficient power, so it becomes free to use. That could be one way that we do that. Intimidating Presence. Wave of Terror. Curse of Exposure, Hypertonistic, Frenzied Attack. Let's look at Wave of Terror. Which is a 4th rank maneuver. So it costs 4 mana to use Wave of Terror. You can choose any number of creatures that you can see within 60 feet to make a wisdom saving throw. Each creature that fails is frightened of you. The effect ends for a creature when it succeeds a wisdom saving throw at the end of each of its turns, or it can no longer see you. There you go. 60-foot range. It doubles the range that this currently allows. 30-foot radius. Bonus action. Unleash. Each creature of your choice within the area must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is frightened of you for up to a minute. It can make another save at the end of its turn, ending the effect on a success. So this would be for free to use as a bonus action. This costs 4 to use and doubles the range. For anyone else, that's a super deal. For the Frenzy Berserker, maybe not as good. That fails is frightened of you. In addition, let's do this. You can expend 2 hit point dice to channel Wave of Terror as a second rank power. Which you can generate for free using a bonus action, or no, you can't, because generating mana is mana, not hit dice. So in addition, so that means I need to change this. I like you being able to do that. Wave of Terror is something that you get access to starting at 13th level. 1, 5, 9, 13 is 4th rank powers. So I only put it at 4th rank here because it was stacking, but now I think I need to switch it. Let's go, yeah, let's take Opportunistic, and let's put that there. Again, we'll go back through and we're going to look at all of these in a moment. Curse of Exposure, Reaction 3, Wave of Terror 4, Frenzied Attacks, and Opportunistic. You're gonna like this. This is gonna be sweet. But this makes a lot more sense now. So Wave of Terror, it has twice the area. Otherwise, it's the same effect, and you can use it as a bonus. You can use it as an action or a bonus action. You could theoretically, if you wanted to, use the rage function, the Intimidating Presence, and if the target succeeds at saving throw as a bonus action, you could then use 2 hit dice as a magic action, trigger Wave of Terror, and hit that target a second time in the same round. If you absolutely have to make it stick, this gives you a chance to do that. And having this clip in at 13th level means that the 14th level feature comes in right on time. And Opportunistic boosting to being put at 17th level actually makes a lot of sense as well. So we've gotten through these features. I'm pretty happy with how they're sitting. We'll get up there eventually and play with them. But for the meantime, let's go through our list of powers here to make sure everything seems cool. So starting with Retaliate. We already looked at Retaliate. If you get hit, you get to hit in the back as long as they're within reach of your weapon, which also means within range, within short range of a ranged attack weapon, like blow dart, throwing axes, crossbow, longbow. Powers work with thrown or ranged weapons if you're within normal range. And if they're ranged weapons like crossbows or longbows, if they aren't thrown weapons use the same damage as usual, but ranged weapons that require ammunition, they use 1 power die less because their range is going to be considerably further. So if the weapon requires ammunition, typically it's actually if it's a ranged attack weapon, but the way that you normally express that is if the attack requires ammunition, it's going to deal 1 die size smaller than your power die normally would do. So at first level, a crossbow, for instance, if you ramp it with a strike power, it would deal an extra D4 damage instead of a D6. By the time you get to 17th level, it would be a D8 instead of a D10. Rangers get to ignore that. Rangers aren't modified when they're using ranged weapons because Rangers are cool. But so we already know what Retaliate is. Let's go look at Dire Impact as the first rank sustained power. And Dire Impact. While sustaining this power, you can add 1 plus your max rank of power. And at first level, that's first rank of power, so that's a total of +2 to your weapon damage rolls. In addition, when you roll 1 or more power dice to deal damage, any power die that rolls below your max rank of power increases the result to that roll, increases the result of that roll to equal your max rank of power. And at first level, that's not such a good deal because first rank you could roll 1, but at 5th level, the minimum your die rolls on power dice can be a 2. At 9th level, minimum of 3. At 13th level, a minimum of 4. At 17th level, a minimum of +5. Like on any damage roll, ability check, saving throw, any D20 test, any damage or D20 test that you take is going to add. If you have Dire Impact active for 1 mana, it'll increase all that stuff by a minimum of 5 per die. So that's actually really juicy at higher levels. So gaining it right away doesn't make that much of a difference for you at low levels. It complements your rage damage because at first level you get a +2 to rage, and if you decide to make this the only thing that you're sustaining, then that damage while you're rage, it'd be a +2 altogether, but while you're raging, it'd be a +4 on top of your strength, on top of any other benefits like the archery, the archery mastery. That would be, well, no, because that's not strength based, so the rage wouldn't be able to affect that so much. Never mind, bad example. But the dire impact would stack. So like if I had the archery feat, which gives me a +2 to my damage roll, and I had dire impact active as well at first level, then I would have a +4 to all my archery shots. So that helps make up for losses on that side. So that's dire impact, intimidating strike, and overrun. Overrun is a first rank exploit. Exploits modify actions by dumping mana into them. You generally don't use an action of some sort to trigger an exploit. An exploit happens while you are doing something else. So we're looking at, what is that, overrun? Yeah, overrun. When you channel this exploit while using your movement, obviously if you're sacrificing your movement, then you can't use overrun. When you channel this exploit while using your movement, you can move through a number of 5-foot spaces occupied by creatures equal to the mana channeled. Spaces occupied by creatures. So you can move through, when you channel this exploit while using your movement, you can move through a number of 5-foot spaces occupied by creatures equal to the mana channeled. Creatures occupying spaces that you move through this way take 1 power die of force damage for each mana channeled. Each can make a dex save for half damage. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature, you instead end your turn in the most recently unoccupied space that you moved through during your turn without dealing any damage to the creature. Creatures can only take damage this way once each turn. So if you move through a huge-sized creature, by spending 3 mana, you'll do 3 dice. You'd have to be 9th level at least to do that. So you deal 3d8 damage moving through that huge target, but not with each square that you move. This, by the way, is how they should have fixed spike growth. You can only take this damage once per turn, but they should have allowed it to scale by you take damage equal to your size in D4 damage. In my opinion, that's how that should have worked. Hey, but I'm just a guy. So 1 mana minimum, and I can ramp it up to 5 mana at 17th level. If I do, I can go through 5 squares with the targets, and each creature that I go through this way will take 5d. Well, at 17th level would be d10, so it'd be 5d10 damage that they would take overall. And let's see, intimidating strike. That is a 2nd level. Is that still a 2nd level strike? Yeah. So while goading and provoking strikes force targets to attack you, intimidate. Ooh, we pushed intimidating strike to 3rd rank. We're gonna have to fix that then. Your weapon deals 1 die of damage per mana channeled, and the creature is frightened of you until it can no longer see you or you are incapacitated. The creature can attempt to end this effect by succeeding a wisdom saving throw at the end of each of its turns. Your weapon deals 1 power die per mana expended. Excuse me. Your weapon can deal psychic damage and adds 1 power die per mana expended. And adds 1 power die of damage per mana expended, increased by 1 power die. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana expended. If you deal a different type of damage, you can deal that type of damage, and adds 1 power die of damage per mana expended. There. and increases by per. I can go through. I want to go through real quick and update all this. And increases and increases and increases. Caustic Strike deals acid or necrotic damage. Disarming Strike knocks a weapon out of somebody's hand. Your weapon deals extra damage. Plus, you have a kicker effect to knock weapons out of their hand. Your weapon deals extra damage. Your weapon can deal fire damage. And increases by one. Can deal and increase in the increases damage. Your weapon can deal fire damage and increases by 1 power die of damage per mana. There we go. And increases damage by 1 power die per mana channeled. That I think that's a better way of saying it. And per mana. Channeled. There. Let's grab that. Period. Your weapon deals, your weapon can deal fire damage and increases damage by 1 power die per mana channeled. There. Freezing Strike can deal cold damage and increases damage by 1 power die per mana channeled. There we go. 1 power die per channel mantled. Damage increases by channel mantled. Mana channeled. Your own die increases by 1 power die per mana channeled. Can deal psychic force or sonic strike, force or psychic damage, and increases damage by 1 power die per mana channeled. Increases by 1 power die per mana channeled. Weapon damage increases. Your weapon damage increases. Your weapon can deal damage and per mana channeled. Period. Thunder damage. And per mana channeled. Axiom Strike. Radiant damage and per mana channeled. Radiant damage and per mana channeled. The necrotic or radiant damage for life stealing strike. Per mana channeled. And mana channeled. It's important to say channeled instead of expended because you can generate free mana. You're not really expending your own mana, so I wanted to avoid that caveat. But you do channel mana when you channel a power. So channel mana acts as a catch-all. Increases. Damage increases. Psychic damage. Per mana channeled. Period. The creature is frightened of you until blah. Provoking strike, psychic damage, and blah, 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 per blah. Staggering Strike, psychic damage, and blah. A lot of psychic shit going on. Psychic. A lot of high-end psychic stuff. The target constitution, if it fails, it can only do one of the following: move, take an action, or a bonus action. Yeah, I think psychic makes sense there. Psychic also makes sense with provoking strike. Deal force damage and per mana, blah. Knockout, you increase mana damage. Force, psychic, normal. Necrotic or radiant. Psychic, radiant. Jeez, there's a lot of radiant and psychic effects. A lot of them. That's kind of crazy. All right, well, we're going to let it be. I am down with that. So, Intimidating Strike is 3rd rank. Have to respect it. So that means we can move. Opportunist. Hold on. Yeah, okay, Opportunist at 9. That makes sense. So double strike. Looks like we're going to take Intimidating Strike and we're going to put it in place of double strike. We already talked about Opportunist. Double strike, overrun. So let's look at double strike, which is a maneuver. It's a 2nd rank maneuver, which you can use as either a magic action or a bonus action. Your choice. You can do both. Both in the same round if you want to. Double strike, very simple. You can make 2 attacks. There you go. Bob's your uncle. Very simple. It's like Monk's Flurry of Blows, but the monk gets it for 1 mana as opposed to 2. Just kind of like the rage, the Intimidating Presence. It's basically a free power for you as a bonus action in a 30-foot radius, as opposed to Wave of Terror costing 4 mana for everyone else. So it's a similar reduction in costs. Oh, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that. I love Beckme. You know that. You know my roots are in Beckme. But I love the design space for 5e. It's just a fun system to design for. 5e is as fun as a designer. 5e is as fun to create rules for as 3rd edition was to create characters for using the actual splat books. Like finding combinations and ways to make things cool and to find balancing points inside of them. It's the bee's knees, man. It is the bee's knees. So that was the Opportunist, 2 mana, Intimidating Strike. We just looked at that. Curse of Exposure. We know what Wave of Terror is already. So we don't know Hypertunistic, Frenzied Attack, or Curse of Exposure. So let's look at the Curse. Curse of Exposure is a reaction. So let's go to Reactions. Reactions 3. It's a big compliment, Steve. Thanks a lot. Curse of Exposure, here we go. As a reaction to when you see a creature within range taking damage, if it has resistance, it loses this property. Alternatively, if the creature is immune to the damage, it instead has resistance. The effect ends immediately after the creature takes damage. So it's not a particular type of damage. It's not a particular source of damage. It's if something takes damage and you notice it's resistant to it, you get rid of the resistance, or you reduce the immunity down to resist. It costs 3 mana to pop it, but if I just dumped 5 mana to deal 70 damage to you, I don't want you resisting that. So I'm going to potentially pop the 3 mana as a reaction during my turn to reduce that effect. Similarly, if I have Opportunist active, it'd be expensive, but if I had Opportunist available as the Barbarian could trigger Curse of Exposure 3 times, costing a total of 9 mana, 4 times, 3 times. Opportunist gives you 2 attacks plus the reaction you normally have. That'd be 3 reactions during your turn or not your turn. one per turn, regardless whether it's yours or not. But you could deactivate something's resistance. So if your team is focusing fire on a target that you're all identifying is as resistant to your damage, your Barbarian, if they aren't doing anything more important right now, could just start dumping mana to make sure that that immunity went away. And, I mean, your whole team could take this, and you could like be self-reliant. So you make your one attack that's a big smack. You boost it with mana to make sure that you hit, and when you do hit, you pop the curse. So that, and there's not even a saving throw. It's just you've already got the save, which is the reduction, and I'm just taking that away from you so you take normal damage like other people. So there's no need for a saving throw on this. It just happens, which is why it's so fucking expensive. But when you need it, you can just start dumping mana on this guy, or in the case of a Barbarian, hit dice, just to make sure that this effect sticks. Since it's a reaction, if you can only use reactions to generate mana if you have Opportunist active. Normally, you can't use your reactions to generate mana because you're not normally using your reaction at a time when you have... The reaction is the only action you get, so you normally can't generate action economy with your reactions. But Opportunist lets you do it, so there's a reason to turn it on. Aside from, even if you're not going to... Even if you aren't necessarily going... Because you can attack... You can decide in the moment, hey, I made my hit. That's the only hit I want right now. I'm going to use my reaction to pop the curse. And if I make another attack, I don't have another reaction right now. So I may as well sacrifice my attack to gain a second reaction so that if someone else hits, I can pop my reactions and start using... I can reduce the cost of the curse. Like, that's another way that you can juice your action economy and make it work with the actions that you decide to do during your round or somebody else's round of combat. So there's that, and now we have Hypertonistic, which is a third rank exploit. So going up to our exploits. Oh, I think it changed. Hold on. Oh, did I move it down to? I don't think it's a exploit anymore. I think we turned it into a sustained power. Hold on, I know it exists. Let's go check it out. Second rank, maybe. Where did you go? Where did you go, dude? Hold on, it's got to be around here somewhere. I know it exists. Maybe we increased the rank because it was really good. Where are you? Flicker, regenerate, double. Dude, you're embarrassing me from my friends. Oh, there it is. We just didn't. We were in maneuvers, not exploits. There it is. Hypertonistic, exploit 3. So exploits modify actions you're already taking by spending mana to juice them. Hypertonistic, when you make an opportunity attack, you can make a second attack against the same creature. There you go. Super expensive, double tap them. And then finally, Frenzied Attack is a 4th rank power. It's a sustained power, so it's going to tie up 4 out of the 5 sustained slots that you can have, but it should be worth it. So let's look at Frenzy. Here you go, Frenzied Attacks. While sustaining this power, you gain 1 additional attack when you take the attack action. And gain advantage on all attack rolls, period. That doesn't say like during your action or like when you're using Frenzy, like if you're making that extra attack. No, it says all of your attack. It costs you 4 fucking mana. So all of your attack rolls, because you're so fast, this extra attack can be used to generate temporary mana. So for example, a 20th level fighter that would have 4 attacks normally, if you have Frenzied Attack active, he now has 5 attacks. So I could hit with 1 attack, and then I can have 4 mana just off of my extra attacks. Or if I was using Opportunist, I could have a total of 6 reactions as a 20th level fighter with Frenzied Attacks active and Opportunist active. Which you cannot do because Opportunist is a 2nd rank power, and Frenzied Attack is 4th. That's a total of 6. That overclocks. I could not do that, but the Frenzied Barbarian can. because we can channel Opportunist as a first rank power. So I could take Opportunist and I could take Frenzied Attack. Granted, the Barbarian only has 2 attacks starting at 5th level on, so this would get me into 2 attacks, 3 attacks. I'd have a total of 4 reactions if I wanted them. Still, not as good as the fighter. It shouldn't be, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, Frenzied Attack. Bunch of extra attack. Everything's an advantage. You can expend 1 hit die, and that takes care of the Frenzied Berserker. I am pretty damn happy how it turned out. Let's go to... Oh, I can put an exclamation point next to that. Bling. Passive power. Exclamation point means I've resolved it for this next wave. So Berserker is done. How are we doing on time? It's almost 3 o'clock. I'm going to go till 4, so I've got another hour. And we're just going to casually pick at both these updates and revisions for the Martial Powers book, as well as continuing to work on the Bastion system. These are the 2 projects that we're going to be working on back and forth as we continue. Give me a second here. I'm going to check my stack here. Chuck. Forgive the disturbance. I'm waiting. We're having some scheduling issues with the Martial Powers playtest tonight, so I need at least 3 people to play. I know we have 2. We might have a third. There's a far chance we'll have the 4th. So if for whatever reason Martial Powers gets, if the playtest gets canceled tonight, I'll probably just stay offline and work on the Eberron page layouts. Just try to get those done faster than usual. So you are blind as well, yeah. Cheers, man. At Game Storm. Oh, right on. Yeah, I mean, having a good DM is a world. It doesn't matter what system you're running. If you have a good DM, especially one that can help you walk through stuff, any game is good. It's really about the vibe that's generated during the game. There, Path of Power, Berserker done, and next, Wild Heart. Features. You don't get these until later, but you get the alert feat for free. Dire Impact. We know what that one is. That one shows up again. Blind Sense. Makes a lot of sense. Savage Attacker. Another free feat. The Fast Sustained Power, so you can move even faster than usual. Lycanthropy. Path of the Wild Heart. That just kind of makes sense. It's the Lycan Blood Hunter effect, basically. Because we converted the Blood Hunter into powers, so you don't have to be a Blood Hunter to do Blood Hunter stuff. Lycanthropy, Empowered Ability is linchpin for ability for exploration and interaction stuff. Breath of Life, Cannibalized Power is another feat, and Adaptive Resistance. Let me, yeah, we'll have to check on those. Cannibalized Power might not be relevant anymore. Thank you, Timely Timer. Okay, starting off at 3rd, Animal Speaker. You can channel the Beast Sense or speak with animal spells as first rank sustained powers. Or you can cast them as rituals using your channeling ability score. So ritual doesn't tie anything up. First rank sustained powers, again, you spend 1 point of mana, and it just stays on all day until it's either dispelled or you're knocked unconscious or you take a long rest. So you can always be speaking with animals. You can always have Beast Sense active. You can turn it on and off as you please. It costs you mana whenever you do it. If you're doing it during combat, if you have spare action economy laying around, you haven't tied up all your slots for combat, then you can just turn on Beast Sense if you want to. Super cool if you're into mounts, into animal scouts. Speak with animals and Beast Sense is a great combo. Rage of the Wilds, you can sustain each of the 3 magical effects listed below as first rank powers. When you activate your rage, you can do so with one of them at no cost. So one of these sustained powers becomes free. Otherwise, you could have all 3 of them active at the same time if you wanted to. You'd have to be 5th level, though, to do it, because this would cost 1, this would cost 1, and presumably Bear would cost 0. So 5th rank, 2 powers. One of these is always going to be free for you to use, as long as you're raging. So Bear, when you rage, is active. You have resistance to every type of damage except Force, Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant. So still thunder, still lightning, fire, cold, acid, poison. Yeah, the unnatural stuff you don't have immunity to. When you activate your rage as an eagle and as a bonus action on following turns, you can take both the dash and disengage action together. Cool. When your rage is active, your allies have advantage. Hold on. You can sustain each of these 3 effects below as 1st rank powers. When you activate your rage, you can do so with one. So we do not need while you are raging, because these are now things that you can just do if you spend the mana to do them. As a bonus action, including when you rage, if you choose. As a bonus action, you can take both dash and disengage action together. Don't need that now. Your allies have advantage on attack rolls against enemies of yours within 5 feet of you. God, that's really good. Let's see. Oh, I need to go back up to the Barbarian to look at channeling features. I think we have an improvement on channeling. In addition, you can expend a use of rage, brutal power. Yeah, okay. Nope. Nothing's there. Okay, cool. I thought I might have a conflict, but apparently I don't. So yeah, Rage of the Wild, that makes sense. You can sustain each of the 3 magical effects listed below as 1st rank powers. When you finish a long rest, you can do so with one of them. You can sustain each of the 3 magical effects listed below as 1st rank powers. When you finish a long rest, you can do so with one of them at no cost. Gotcha. So one of these is free and one of these is free. That means that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. I could have all 6 of these things active at the same time if I wanted to tie up all my mana. You have dark vision with a range of 60 feet. If you already have dark vision, the range increases 60 feet. You have a climb speed equal to your speed. You have a swim speed equal to your speed. These are things that exist in like aquatic adaptation and stuff like that. Nature Speak. You can cast a Commune with Nature spell as a ritual using your channeling ability score. While performing the ritual, you can forgo asking questions and instead regain a number of barbarian hit point dice and mana equal to the max rank gained as a barbarian. So at 10th level, we currently have 3rd rank of power. We get 3 hit dice back, and we get 3 mana, and we can use hit dice as mana. So you're effectively getting 6 mana back at level 10. This guy's a juicer. That's freaking great. Once you use this ritual this way, you cannot do so again. That's like the Warlock restoration ability. That's sweet. I forgot we did that. I forgot. It's been a long time since I've looked at a lot of these things, so I've legitimately forgotten about a lot of this stuff. So it's really fun to reacquaint myself and just to be able to double check myself. You can sustain each of these 3 magical effects listed below as 2nd rank powers. When you activate your rage feature, you can do so with one of them at no cost, ending when the rage ends. Does it say that up here as well? So we're getting 4 ranks of power for free. You can sustain each of the 3 magical effects listed below. When you activate your rage feature, you can do so with one of them at no costs. Oh, I'd have to activate it with this one at no cost, or activate it with one of these at no cost, but I can only activate one at a time. So if I picked up, say, Falcon for free, I'd have to spend a point on Bear if I didn't already have it active. You can. So getting rid of the rage stuff. You gain a fly speed equal to your speed if you're not wearing armor. You gain a flight speed around 5th as a 2nd rank power. So this isn't really blowing anything out of curb. While your rage feature is active, I don't need that anymore. Enemies, updating the language. Enemies within 5 feet of you have disadvantage to attack rolls targeting creatures other than you or other barbarians that use this feature. So that's like the provoking of the goading strike for free, basically with no end. Enemies that are large or smaller in size that you hit with a melee attack have the prone condition. Got it, automatically. You just automatically knock them down if they're size large or smaller. That's great. Those are cool. Those are great abilities. I love all those abilities. This guy is cool. There's some really, really cool RP opportunities there. Alert feats. That should click in. There it is. It's a +5. It's I think it's just like a flat +5 to perception checks. Dire impact. We already looked at that. We know what that is. Blind sense. Sustained power 1. Let's go up. You are aware of the location of any creatures and objects on the same plane of existence as you within 10 feet, times your max rank of power. Starts off at 10 feet, ends up at 50 feet, including walls, floors, and ceilings of structures in range, though you can't identify things like color or written text on these objects using blind sense alone. So there you go. You don't need to see to target, and you know your environment. Just no details. Savage Attacker. What is Savage Attacker? I forgot. I think it lets us re-roll a die when we hit. I think. You've trained to deal particularly damaging strikes. Once per turn, when you hit a target with a weapon, you can roll the weapon's damage twice and use either roll against the target. Easy enough. Fast. First rank sustained power. While sustaining this power, your walking speed increases by your max power rank multiplied by 10. So, first rank, extra 10 feet. 17th level, 5th rank, extra 50 feet. Works great with the monk. Lycanthropy, first rank sustained power. While sustaining this power, you can shift form into a lycanthrope creature. Your appearance changes to adopt features of a creature of your choice, such as fur or scales or beak, claws, fangs, tail, etc. And you gain the following benefits. You have your heightened senses, which gives you advantage on wisdom, perception, and investigation checks. You have feral might, which gives you gains advantage on strength checks and saving throws. And natural weapons, which is you gain an unarmed strike that deals 1 power die plus either strength or dex, your choice, that deals either bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing damage, which is your choice. When you activate the power, you generate a weapon on yourself. So that's lycanthropy. Scratches that guru itch that people have. Empowered ability, this is gold. While sustaining this power, choose one ability score. You have advantage when rolling checks and saves for the chosen ability. And as a kicker effects are, we've already sustained the same, but we can spend mana on the fly. So while this power is sustained, you can roll 1 power die per mana expended up to your max channel limit. adding the highest roll to the result of any ability check or save using the chosen ability. If the check fails, restore the kicker mana to your pool. This is considered an exploit power. You can sustain this power multiple times, choosing a different ability each time. You can have a maximum of 5 of them, so 5 out of 6 stats you can have empowered, which basically gives you foresight for your character by, 17th level. Breath of Life, Exploit 1. Breath of Exploits modify things that you're already doing. And what are we doing with Breath of Life? When you make an ability check to stabilize a dying creature, you automatically succeed. And you restore a number of hit points equal to the result of 1 power die. If you were to spend your hit die, you'd be rolling a d12 to give them hit dice, to give them hit points back. I like the flavor of that, honestly. I think that's really cool. Cannibalize Power. That is a meta power feat, a new feat that we created. That's an option for your character to select. So let's go down to our feat list. Cannibalize Power requires a channeling class feature, which all marshals have. When you roll power dice while channeling a power, you can replace any number of power dice with your hit dice instead. Doing so expends the hit dice. For example, a 6th level barbarian running 2 mana to add 2 power dice to damage roll while channeling a strike power can choose to spend 2 dice. Well, it wouldn't be the barbarian. For example, a 6th level fighter burning 2 dice, burning 2 mana to add 2 power dice to the damage roll while channeling a strike power can choose to spend 2 dice. Rolling 2d10 instead of the 2d6 power dice. This is worthless to the barbarian because the barbarian gets this for free, which is great news. We've just freed up a power. So let's drop Cannibalizing Power. And let's see, we have Adaptive Resistance. Let's go check out what Adaptive Resistance does, and then maybe we'll just see a power that just naturally kind of fits in here. Adaptive Resistance. 1 for 1 mana, Elemental. When you sustain this power with 1 mana, choose 1 type of damage: Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Thunder. You gain resistance to the chosen type of damage and gain advantage on saving throws to reduce the damage taken of the chosen damage type. You can channel the power more than once simultaneously, choosing a different type of damage with each channeling. You could also, for 2 mana, have Energy Resistance, which is resist Force, Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant. We should actually get rid of Poison. Lightning, Poison, or Thunder. You gain resistance to the chosen type of damage and gain... Ooh. Let's do it like this. When you sustain this power with 2 mana, you gain resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing. You gain resistance to... There's no sustain as non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage anymore. To bludgeoning, piercing, poison, and slashing damage. There. And we need to do a rework for the elemental damage types. This is something that I was looking at the other day with a team. Thunder. There, can be reduced. Lots of damage types, and then you have the actual force damage. You actually have the actual exotic damage: force, necrotic, psychic, and radiance. There. Open that up a little bit. We may end up seeing balance changes as a result of this, but we should be good. I think we're going to see things like the Storm Herald or something like that. I think it's going to come up. Balance. So now we have an ability. God, this guy's just full of cheap shit. All of his stuff is first-ranked stuff. You see that? That's crazy. So there's so much stuff we don't need. Let's take a walk. Let's go look for something. Let's see. I'm thinking. The poison anatomy stuff. That's what I'm kind of thinking about. Let's find it. Close quarter, crouching stance, dire impact, empowered ability, fast, instant skill, lycanthropy, omnilinguist, ranged assault, sub, channeling, subtle channeling, trap springer, deadly presence, giant growth, opportunist, strange metabolism. When sustaining this power, you are immune to poison damage and the poison condition. In addition, as a bonus action, you can make an unarmed attack that deals 1 power die of poison damage, and the creature is poisoned until it succeeds a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. So, strange metabolism. I like that. +2. Damn, cool. And now the Path of the Wild Heart is good. I am very happy with that. Woo! Next. World Tree. What's some of the cool stuff you get? Rally, Sentinel, Shunt, Tripping Strike, Flicker Pounce, Thundering Strike, Extended Reach, Life-Stealing Strike, Anchor, Banishing Strike. A lot of teleportation effects, ally support, and damage types, alternate damage. So, level 3, Vitality of the Tree. Your connection to the life force of the World Tree grants you the following features. Vitality Surge. When you activate your rage, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your Barbarian level. Life-Giving Force. While your rage is active at the start of each of your turns, you can choose another creature within 10 feet of yourself to gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the amount that you have. When you activate rage, you get temporary hit points. Anytime that you get temporary hit points, at the start of each of your turns, you can just choose another target to get down. Jesus, that's really, really good. That's really, you're going to see how good that is later on when we synergize that with Life-Stealing Strike. It's going to get sick. Yeah, that's going to get a little ridiculous. Jeez, that's going to get crazy. Branches of the Tree. While Rage is active, when a creature starts its turn within 30 feet of you, you can use a reaction to target that creature to make a strength saving throw or be teleported to a location within 5 feet of you or the nearest unoccupied space. You can then choose to reduce its speed to 0 until the end of its turn. When your rage is active, hold on. Okay, this doesn't grant you that ability offhand, but if you were to use Opportunist with this, this is such a great battlefield control ability, because if you convert all of your attack actions into reactions at 6th level, you could have 3 reactions per turn that would shut down the movement of 3 targets. When a creature starts its turn within 30 feet of you, you can use a reaction to target that creature to make a strength saving throw or be teleported to a location within 5 feet of you or the nearest unoccupied space. You can then choose to reduce its speed to 0 until the end of its turn. So you can position yourself far away from your full casters, and as they pass by you en route to the full caster, you can trigger branches of the trees, and if you're using Opportunist, up to 3 times to pull those creatures back to you and then drop their speed to 0. It puts you at ground 0 to be attacked from there. But you can just do this all day. You can just literally do this at will, assuming that you have Opportunist active. God damn, I love that. That's so good. Coincidentally, if you were to, like, say, hit a target, like say a target was adjacent to you, okay, using this system, forced movement triggers opportunity attacks. So you could hit somebody, during your turn, you could hit somebody, punt them away from you, and then while they're moving away from you, they're taking damage and they're making distance, you would then be able to use your opportunity attack to hit them again on the way out of your area of attack. And you would then, say, be able to use Tripping Strike, for instance, to knock them prone. So while they're being skated out of your reach, you get the opportunity attack as forced movement to then knock them prone, so they stay inside at the edge of your distance. And then next round, when they try to get up and move away from you, you can just pull them right to you and reduce their speed to 0. So you can then loop them. So be able to hit them and then hit them again and then pull that back in and that are prone at your feet. And you could basically keep an opponent trapped next to you and keep them prone. It'll cost you a lot of mana to do it, but you would be able to sustain that for at least a few rounds of combat. At this level, yeah, a few rounds of combat. That's cool. I like that. While raging, you can sacrifice your movement to generate mana. Oh, we already have this. While raging, oh, there it is. While raging, when you sacrifice your movement to generate mana, you can expend it to increase your reach by 10 feet. And when you hit with a weapon attack, you can use the push or topple combat mastery in addition to another combat mastery or strike power you have prepared. This effect lasts until the end of your turn. So if you stay still, if you root yourself in place, you gain mana that you then spend. Which you, let's see. While raging, you can sacrifice your movement to generate mana. While raging, when you sacrifice movement to generate mana, you can expend it to increase your reach by 10 feet. Yeah. And that lasts till the end of your turn. When you hit with a weapon attack, because your reach is extended, when you hit with a melee weapon attack, because you're extending your reach by 10 feet. Let's see. When you sacrifice your movement, you can expend it to increase your melee attack reach by 10 feet. And when you hit with a melee weapon attack, you can use the push or topple combat mastery in addition to another combat mastery or strike power you have prepared. Because you can't use combat masteries and strike powers at the same time. Combat masteries are considered cantrips, while strike powers are considered spells in this analogy. So you can't cast a spell and cast a cantrip at the same time with the same action as a spellcaster. Similarly, you can't use combat mastery and strike powers at the same time unless a feature or the power specifically says that you can, such as Battering Roots does. Travel on the tree. When you activate your rage and as a bonus action while your rage is active. When you activate your rage and as a bonus action while your rage is active, you can teleport up to 60 feet away to an unoccupied space that you can see. In addition, you can expend 2 mana as a kicker when you use this feature to teleport up to 150 feet away. When you use this feature to teleport... Okay, so in addition, you can expend 2 mana as a kicker when you use this feature to teleport. When you use this feature, period. In addition, you can expend 2 mana as a kicker when you use this feature. Increasing the range of teleportation. Increasing the range of your teleport to a location you can see up to 150 feet away, comma, and you can bring up to 6 willing creatures who are within 10 feet of you to teleport with you to an unoccupied space within 10 feet of you that you can see. There you go. So 2 mana, you can take your friends with you up to 100 feet away, 150 feet away. Normally, when you activate your rage and as a bonus action while you rage, bonus action is not capitalized, you can teleport up to 60 feet away. There you go. Yeah, that's good. Let's check the feats to make sure, or the power list to make sure everything still jives, and then we'll be able to move along. So rally, first rank maneuver. Rally is you and one ally you can see gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the total of 1 power die rolled for each point of mana spent. So there you go. Rally, you can generate mana at will. You can generate temporary hit points at will. Vitality Surge, when you activate your rage, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your barbarian level. Life-Giving Force, while your rage is active at the start of each of your turns, you can choose another creature within 10 feet of yourself to gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the amount that you have. So I could spend 5 mana if I wanted to give myself, and so it's you and one ally. If I spent 5 mana at 17th level, it would be 5d10 up to 50 temporary hit points that I would grant. And if I did that using the Life-Giving Force while my rage is active at the start of my turn, if somebody's within 10 feet of myself that I like, if I had rolled a 50 on that rally, I could then give my ally 50 hit points. This isn't too abusive because there are, while your rage is active and at the start of each of your turns, because your allies could give you truckloads of hit points through spell casting themselves. And if they do, that just sets you up to be able to just, assuming you don't take any damage, you can then fuel the rest of your team with as much temporary hit points as you have. And I am now curious. So let's see if we can go to the spell casting, the spell list that's in the book, and let's see if temporary hit points is a keyword. Ritual concentration, save required. No tag there. Save required. Attack type. Damage type. Casting. Spell school. I guess let's see if we can do it this way. Actually, 20245E, list of spells that grant temporary hit points. Sure. Okay. Higher level spells that grant a significant number. Okay. Let's test that theory. Higher level spells that grant a significant number. There. D&D Beyond. Divine Favor. 2024. Let's see what that does. Hey, right on, man. Thanks a lot for hanging out. I really appreciate you, Steve. You have a great day. I'll see you maybe tomorrow. I really appreciate you, Steve. You have a great day. See you maybe tomorrow. I am obviously misunderstood. Divine Favor. Higher level spells that grants a significant amount of temporary hit point for a moderate duration. No. What? Maybe that's okay. AI got that wrong. Create a spectral weapon that deals damage and can also provide temporary hit points to the caster. Is that true? There's no way that's true. You create a floating spectral force that resembles a weapon of your choice and lasts for the duration. The force appears within range of a space of your choice, and you can immediately make one melee spell attack against one creature within 5 feet of the force. On a hit, the target takes force damage equal to D8 plus your spell casting ability modifier. As a bonus action and later turns, you can make the force up to 20 feet and repeat the attack against a creature within 5 feet of it. Yeah, okay. Increases by D8. Yeah, this whatever this AI is it's just failing miserable. Fuck off. Maybe there's an actual spell. Counterspell is not temporary hit points. What? Where? Why are you making that up? That's just wrong. What spells give temporary hit points? That's just wrong. What spells give temporary hit points and spells. Is there a comprehensive list? False Life. Armor of Agathist, 5 temporary hit points per spell level. Heroism is imbued with bravery until the spell ends. The creature is immune to the threatened condition and gains temporary hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier at the end of each of its turns. And 2014 version of the same spell. Polymorph. Temporary hit points equal to the hit points of the beast form. Spell ends early if you have no temporary hit points left. Yeah, okay. I don't see anything else. Well, I know there's class features that give temporary hit points, so I'm just not going to. I'm not going to sweat the details right now. It was an interesting thought experiment, but I don't think there's enough mechanical depth for us to think about it any further. Let's go back on to point. Right, rally, sentinel. We know what sentinel feat is. That's cool. Shunt, maneuver 1. Target a number of creatures equal to the amount of mana expended that are within 10 feet, and up to one size larger than you, to make a strength saving throw or be pushed up to 10 feet per mana channeled directly away from you. You can add the highest power die roll to the save DC. Target number of creatures equal to the amount of mana expended that are within 10 feet of you and up to one size larger to make a saving throw or be pushed 10 feet away. You can roll a number of power dice equal to the mana expended, adding the highest die roll to the save DC. Adding the highest roll to the save DC. There you go. That is Shunt. And then we have Tripping Strike. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana spent, by 1 per mana expended. And you knock a large or smaller creature prone. 3 points equals huge. 5 points equals gargantuan. Okay, easy enough. Auto trip. Flicker pounce, maneuver 3. There, flicker pounce. You can teleport up to 30 feet away to a space within 5 feet of a creature that you can see and make a weapon attack against it. If the attack succeeds, you can choose to teleport back to your original position. If the attack fails, you don't teleport the second time. So you teleport up to 30 feet to a target within 5 feet of you. You make a weapon attack against it. And if you hit, you bounce back. Thundering Strike. Steer Rake. Your weapon can deal thunder damage and increases damage by 1 power die per mana channeled. A creature is pushed directly away from you up to 10 feet for each point of mana expended. Extended reach, sustained 1. You can extend your reach by 5 feet per point of mana sustained this way. And life stealing strike, strike 2. Life stealing strike. Your weapon can deal necrotic or radiant damage and increases damage by 1 power die per mana channeled. In addition, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the result of the power dice rolled. Any temporary hit points that remain when you start a short or long rest are lost. So this would allow you to juice, like the Barbarian could juice up to 5d12 or potential 60 hit points. And at the beginning of your turn, because of your tree feature, you could imbibe those onto somebody else. Sick. Those two things together are really, really strong. I'll give you that. They're super, super strong. You could get Life Stealing Strike as early as 5th level. You need to sit back and not take damage. Keeps you safe. How do I feel about that? It's pretty crazy. That's the way to fix it. Left Giving Force. While your rage is active, at the start of each of your turns, you can choose another creature within 10 feet of yourself to gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the amount that you have up to your Barbarian level. That's the way to fix it. When you activate your rage, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your Barbarian level. Up to your Barbarian level. There you go. So if I am 3rd level and I've got 7 temporary hit points on me, I can only give you 3 per round. By the time we get to 17th level, where I could be tossing on 5d12 temporary hit points onto myself per round, I can only be handing out 17 to my allies. That is the way to balance that. I am very happy with this result. That's a good solution. I am utterly pleased with that. Anchor is super cool. Third rank reaction. As a reaction to a creature that you can see moving, teleporting, or shifting planes, whether voluntarily or forced. Before doing so, it takes 1 power die of damage per mana burn, per mana expended. This way. And must succeed a charisma saving throw. If it fails, it can't move, teleport, or shift planes until the beginning of its next turn. A falling, flying, or swimming creature targeted with this power remains fixed in space. Fixed in the space it occupies until the duration ends. You can choose to forego dealing damage. So this is like a lock spell, right? So like if your wizard gets targeted with a banishment spell, for instance, you could, as a reaction, throw anchor onto your wizard, and they will be locked in place. They can still act. They're not restrained. They just can't move from that spot. But you save them from being banished. Similarly, if your big bad evil guy tries to yeet out with a low level teleport spell, you can bap them with the anchor spell and lock them in place, preventing them from being able to teleport away, giving you an extra round to beat up on them. There you go. And it's just a reaction. It's a charisma saving throw. Bing, bang, boom. And speaking of which, Banishing Strike. Your weapon can deal force damage and increases damage by 1 power die per mana channeled. The creature is banished and incapacitated for 1 minute, returning to the same space it had been banished from if unoccupied. Otherwise, returning to the next closest space that can support its weight, unless it was flying. The creature makes a charisma saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect early if successful. So you're guaranteed to banish them for 1 round, and they might just come right back. And that resolves Path World Tree. Path of the World Peas. World Tree and Zealot. How are we doing on time? All right, we got 20 minutes left. Let's see. Divine Fury. When you use a strike power, you can choose to deal necrotic or radiant damage, and you can add half your barbarian level rounded down to the damage roll. Jesus. When you use a strike power, holy Hannah, you can choose to deal necrotic or radiant damage, and you can add your barbarian level rounded down to the damage rolled. Jesus Christ, that's powerful. As a bonus action, you can heal yourself for a number of... I don't have the ability to read it normally. This is something that I'm thinking about maybe tinkering with. You can channel divine power into your strikes. On each of your turns while your rage is active, the first creature you hit with a weapon or unarmed strike takes extra damage equal to d6 plus half your barbarian level rounded down. The extra damage is necrotic. You choose the type each time you deal the damage. d6 plus half your barbarian level, and that is the first creature you hit. As a bonus action, no. When you use the strike power, half your level rounded down. So it's an extra point of damage right now. When you use a strike power, you can choose to deal necrotic or radiant damage. Choose when you hit. Choose when you roll damage, and you can add half your barbarian levels rounded down to the damage roll. No. You can choose to deal necrotic damage. And you can roll and your power die increases one size up to 1d12. So Divine Fury, whenever I'm using Divine Strike, I can always choose to deal necrotic or radiant damage, and I'm going to increase my die. At level 3, I'm using a d6. This allows me to increase my power die by one size, so instead of me rolling d6s, I am rolling d8s. And it'll cap at d12s at 17. As a bonus action, you can heal yourself for a number of hit points equal to the result of one power die per mana. Per mana expended this way, up to your max channel limit gained as a barbarian. As a first rank maneuver, you can heal yourself for a number of hit points equal to the result of one power die per mana expended this way, up to your max channel limit gained as a barbarian. When you use this feature, you can also expend any number of barbarian hit dice to heal a number of hit points rolled as part of the same maneuver. To heal a number of hit points up to the max channeling, up to the max rank of power gained as a barbarian. To heal a number of hit points. So at 3rd level, when you get this, you can spend one power. You can spend one mana, and you could spend one hit die to get d6 plus d12 hit points back, or just d6 hit points if you wanted. That's still really fucking sweet. And it's a first rank maneuver, which means you can use that as a magic action and a bonus action in the same round if you want, or either one. This is pretty much in line with the Cure Light Wound, the Cure Wounds spell that the Ranger get that it can use to generate mana with. Because it's a maneuver, you can generate mana with it. So if you're really wounded, you can just stand still, and then as a bonus action, pop this to dump mana into yourself at least 1 point because of the movement that you're generating. And that would allow you, at 3rd level, you'd be able to gain a free point of mana and expend a hit die. So that would give you your hit. Yeah, there's your hit points. And you could do that each round if you wanted to. It's eating up your action economy. You're not helping your team win, but it is a way for you to gain free hit points for when you get out of combat. You don't have to worry about expending the resources. So has value. Warrior of the Gods as a first rank. Ooh, no, yeah, we already have that. 6th level as well. Fanatical Focus. While your rage feature is active, when you fail a saving throw, you can expend a point of mana to add the result of one power die to the roll, potentially changing the failure to a success. Is that redundant with anything? Answer is no. As a bonus action, you can grant up to 10 other creatures within 60 feet of yourself to make attacks and saves with advantage until the start of your next turn. You regain this feature when you finish a long rest or expend a use of your rage. No action required. As a bonus action, you can grant up to 10 other creatures within 60 feet of yourself, within 60 feet of you, to make attacks and saves with advantage until the start of your next turn. Jesus, that's really good. I'm going to double check that feature because that's really good. Once per active rage. You can unleash a battle cry to infuse with divine energy up to 10 other creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you. Gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend the use of your rage to restore your use of it. A use of your rage. That is 10th level. At 10th level, we have 4 rages. And it was 6. Or expend 2 mana. No action required. 2 mana for 10th level, it's good. When you activate your rage, you can assume the form of a divine warrior for 1 minute or until your hit points drop to 0. You regain this feature when you finish a long rest or expend 4 mana, no action required. Alternatively, you can choose to sustain rage while in this form as a 4th rank power. Alternatively, you can choose to sustain rage while in this form. When you activate your rage, you can assume the form of a divine warrior for 1 minute or until your hit points drop to 0. You regain this feature when you finish a long rest or expend 4 mana. Alternatively, you can choose to sustain this form. You can choose to sustain this form as a 4th rank power. While in this form, you gain the following. You have a fly speed equal to your speed, resistance to necrotic, psychic, and damage revivification. When a creature within 30 feet of you would drop to 0 hit points, you can take a reaction to expend mana up to your max channel limit gained as a barbarian to instead roll an equal number of power dice, changing the target's hit point total to the result of the roll plus your barbarian level. Holy shit. Take a reaction to expend mana. There you go. Wow, that's really, really good. Whew, man, I like that. That's intense. But I like it. Rage of the Gods. So cool. Okay, let's look through the abilities real quick. Make sure everything's copacetic. Dire Impact we looked at already. Adaptive Resistance we looked at already. Life-Stealing Strike we looked at already. Saving Grace, Reaction 2. We have not looked at Saving Grace, so let's do so. Saving Grace. Reroll any D20 test, including any number of power dice rolled. Keep the new result. Regeneration. Maneuver 2. Regenerate. When you channel this maneuver, you can spend a number of hit dice up to your max rank to regain a number of hit points equal to the amount rolled. Kicker effect 1, so spend an extra point of mana on top of the 2 that it costs. So as an extra point, you can end one of the following conditions: blind, deafened, poisoned. In addition to the 2 points that you spend, you can spend an extra 3 to end a curse, in reduction on one of your ability scores, or one effect reducing your hit point maximum, or 1 degree of exhaustion. Kicker cost of 1+ equals 2 to activate, and the kicker cost of 1. You can spend additional mana to target an additional creature for each point of mana spent this way up to your maximum channel limit. So you can spend additional mana to target an additional creature for each point of mana spent. You can target, there it is. You can target an additional creature to benefit from regeneration and any kicker effects chosen for each point of mana spent this way to benefit from the regeneration and any kicker effects chosen. For each point of mana spent this way up to your max channel limit to benefit from the effects of this power, including any kicker power, comma, including any kicker effects chosen. You can target an additional creature within 30 feet that you can see for each point of mana spent this way to benefit from the effects of this power, including any kicker effects chosen when you channel it. There. So that makes that useful. Saving Grace resolved, Regeneration resolved, Cursed Brand as maneuver. Is it a maneuver? Is that true? Cursed Brand. Huh. Really? Cursed Brand. You curse a creature that you can see to make a saving throw against you with disadvantage. The effect ends when the creature succeeds a saving throw against you. The effect ends early when the creature succeeds a save against you. There you go. Nasty effect. Hexproof. Reaction. Hexproof. As a reaction to when a creature you can see targets you with a spell or magical effect, you are unaffected by it, wasting the spell or the effect. Master of Fate. That is a sustained power 4. Master of Fate. When you channel this power, roll 3 d20 fate dice. When you later roll a d20 while this power is sustained, you can choose to replace that result with any one of these fate dice. Each fate die can be used once. In addition, while sustaining the power, you can spend 1 point of mana as a bonus action during your turn to roll an additional fate die, replacing any result or regaining an expended fate die. Unused fate dice are lost when the power is dismissed. There you go. And Rite of Revival, reaction 4. This guy's got a lot of juice. Rite of Revival, as a reaction to when you drop to 0 hit points but don't die outright, you remain conscious and roll a number of power dice equal to the mana channeled, gaining a number of hit points equal to the total rolled up to your maximum hit point total. There you go. And that resolves Path of the Zealot. So all of the official 2024 Paths of Barbarian are now resolved and updated for the 2024 language with the current playtesting that we've been performing. When we come back next time, we're going to start looking at the Forsaken Barbarian classes, which are all the Barbarian classes that were not included in the 2024 book. So we've got Ancestral Guardians, Battle Rager, Beast, Giant, Storm Herald, Wild Magic, and there you go. So we'll have the 6 next that will resolve. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing that or on Friday. One or the other. But that's it for now. I'm going to log out for the day. I'll be back tomorrow morning to continue. We'll start coloring the Eberron Undead Horde that we've been illustrating in the mornings. And we will be back at 1:30 lunchtime tomorrow, probably working on the Bastion system. For now, I'm going to log out. As long as we got at least 3 people that are going to be able to play test with us tonight, I'll be running a mega dungeon for 3rd level characters. If I can't, then we'll probably start holding a conversation about potentially switching the day to Saturday, or seeing if we can recruit more people for Monday night to make sure that we have a stable team. So wish us luck. I'll see you guys in the morning. Thanks a lot for anyone that's hanging out. Really appreciate you. Check you on the other side. Cheers.